So that's when I realized vlogging in public is like very uncomfortable, but I also really love the attention of it.
Yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable for me right now.
It was Jim Rohn who said, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. Last week, I took a spontaneous trip to Los Angeles to meet my old roommate and friend. It had been about 18 months since I'd been to LA. It was a great time. We walked about the old town, got burritos at the place that we always got Mexican food at. We shot a few comedy sketches.
I don't like coffee, I like whiskey. Whiskey's for business.
And yet, despite all that fun, it was kind of a bizarre experience for me to be back at the old apartment that I used to live in, to be in this old neighborhood, and it reminded me of how much my life has changed, how much circumstances changed over the last 2 years. Now, the topic of this video is how to reinvent yourself in 2020, but before I get into the principles of the video, I just want to take a minute to explain the context of it. If you'd like, you can skip ahead to the timestamp and get into the principles. But 18 months ago when I'd visited LA, I met with a talent agent. That was the purpose of that visit. And somehow I had lucked my way into like a meeting with a really well-established television agent. I think the reason he met with me is because he saw that I went to a fairly decent drama school, and also because I was of Indian descent, and he just wanted someone on his roster who could go for Indian descent roles. A week later, that agent turned me down and instead signed with this actor Taha Shah. When I found that out, I of course Googled the guy, tried to find out as much as I could about this other actor who beat me out for this great Hollywood agent. And what I learned really humbled me and made me realize the importance of respecting the process and becoming the person worthy of attracting the things you want into your life. What I found from Taha's career is that he had been grinding strategically and aggressively far longer than I had. I'd spent about 4 years trying to get an agent and work in LA. This guy had been navigating the Bollywood movie industry for like 8 years, and Bollywood is an industry with far more nepotism and closed doors than even Hollywood has. And so, through a great diet, through discipline, through charisma, through being a great dancer, through hustling, through patience, this guy was absolutely incredible, and he had every right. He completely deserved signing with that agent over me. This finally brings me to the topic of the video, which is how to reinvent yourself in 2020. Back in the day when I would set goals, I would put all my focus on the target. What do I want to achieve this year? What do I want to do? How can I attract that into my life? I would put all emphasis, all focus on the target itself, and it seldom ever came true. The question that I'm far more interested in now is, what kind of person do I have to become? Who do I have to be to attract that result naturally, organically into my life? Because it's not just going to come about by visualization. It has to come about by my own skill, by my own results. And my real work is to figure out how I can bring those implementations into my daily life, because life is lived out day by day. It isn't lived out by fantasizing about your big target in the future. A few of the ideas and a couple of paragraphs for this video come from a book called The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran. I'll leave a link to the book in the description. And so the first principle is this: set some goals. Now, I just talked about how I don't believe in goal setting as much, but I think it is useful to have a couple of general targets that you want to hit. As the legendary Casey Neistat would have said, without a goal, you can't score. The only difference now is that while I have general intentions, goals that I want to achieve for the year, I don't like to linger on them for too long. And I'm not going to linger on this point because I'm sure you've heard about the benefits of goal setting from a number of sources at this point. The second principle, a far more interesting principle, is to create an ideal for yourself that could attract those results into your life. Scott Adams, who created the Dilbert comics, once said that humans are like moist robots. We may be a certain way right now, but if we're aware of the implementations that we want to bring into our lives, we can actually do so. We can reprogram ourselves to create new habits and new routines and be the people we need to be. How would you operate if you were to organically attract the results you want into your life? For me, I ideally see myself doing a great job at my day job and also keeping up with YouTube with a lot more elegance. I see myself waking up early, completely well rested, working out, meditating, drinking a power smoothie, having a task list, working with focus, filming in the evenings and the weekends, and not taking the whole thing too seriously, still having fun with the process. As I reflect on my ideal and I reflect on how my days would look if I lived out my ideal, I feel so much more in control. I feel as if I'm putting all my focus on the thing that actually matters for me, that I can have effect over, change over, which is my implementations, my routines. And it's a very empowering feeling to remove focus from the target and instead focus on yourself and who you're gonna be. The third principle is a fantastic one, and it's one that I got from the book, The 12-Week Year, and it is this: measure what matters. Measurement drives the execution process. It is the anchor of reality. The most important lead indicator you have is a measure of your execution. Ultimately, you have greater control over your actions than over your results. Your results are created by your actions. We all have a tendency from time to time to rationalize lackluster results, but with effective scorekeeping, we are forced to confront the reality of our situation, even when it's uncomfortable. While this can be difficult, the sooner we can confront reality, the sooner we can shift our actions towards producing more desirable results. That's what effective measurement does. It demands our attention and causes us to respond more immediately, increasing the likelihood of success down the road. So whatever your idealizations are, how can you measure them on a daily basis? How can you break them into a series of routines, implementations, habits that you would track on a daily basis? As Christopher Nolan has indicated in all of his movies, memories can be deceptive. You may think that you were executing on your ideal, but maybe you weren't. And so having some sort of system in place where you track your idealization into a habit or a series of habits is incredibly powerful. You can actually see if you're executing on your ideals. I like to use Microsoft OneNote, and I literally have a page on OneNote where I track all of the habits and routines that I want to hit for the day. But whether it's using an app or journaling, having some sort of register in place where you break that idealization down and measure it, it's an incredibly powerful way to move forward in 2020. And the final principle then is to reduce the timeline. Around this time of year, at the end of the year, I used to watch a lot of videos like how to have your best year ever. But the truth is, the year doesn't really exist. It's just an arbitrary measurement system. We can only live for the instant. We can only live for the day. And so all of the idealizations, all of the implementations and goals you have, remember that it all comes down to one day. Live and die in this one day. Put it all into this one day. That's something that Mahatma Gandhi would say. He would say, every time I go to bed at night, I think I'm dying. This day is over. And if I get tomorrow, that's awesome. But I treat tomorrow as if I've been reborn, and I get to treat that day as the special thing that it is. And so while we do have huge intentions to live out a great year, it all comes down to action in the one day, the present day. The present day is all of reality. And so don't neglect that one day for the sake of fantasies about the future. And that's just it. I think the reason I've often struggled with hitting my goals is because I put all of my attention on the future, on that future target. But the truth is, that target, it doesn't actually exist. What exists is who I am, my idealizations, and my idealizations measured and tracked in the day, in the moment. And while the day doesn't seem as exciting as that vision for the future, it's actually generating that future. And so whatever your process is, honor that process today. Regardless if it's not as exciting as that amazing ambition in the future, the process cannot wait. It must be honored today. If you're new to the channel, my name is Nikhil. This channel features one comedy sketch every Wednesday and a more genuine personal development video like this one every Sunday. If that appeals to you, consider subscribing. And for those of us who are willing to not only set targets, but also create idealizations, measure what matters, and to reduce the timeline to today, to us I say, a great period of reinvention and prosperity is coming in the new decade, and greatness is also coming. Till Wednesday.